Meet our OP Necromancer Qiao Yu. During the awakening ceremony, he unlocked the Godly Necromancer class and accidentally defeated the undefeated Begnir level boss. However, the system allotted all his stat points to strength, rendering him unable to use magic. But as a trade-off, he becomes even more powerful than Saitama in the story. And that concludes the intro. Help us get 699 likes. And let's begin. At the 4th Academy of Sioux City, students are gathered around a large magic circle as Principal Xue Jinwang announces they are to receive their class and become players of the inner world. The students could become strong swordsmen, tenacious knights, agile assassins, or powerful mages, all depending on what fate has in store for them. All the students are ready and prepared as the principal declares the transformation formation to be activated. Among the students is our hero, the protagonist, Qiao Yu, who is looking forward to receiving a class, something he has been waiting for since being reincarnated 18 years ago. The world he is in now is called Kaiji Star, a parallel world extremely similar to Earth. However, unlike Earth, the artificially developed inner world suddenly descended, causing the human world to be overturned and various dungeons to emerge all over. Now, upon turning 18, humans gain abilities through the transfer formation and use them to clear dungeons, earning experience and attribute points by defeating monsters. As soon as the transformation formation activates, Qiao Yu finds himself in a space-time dimension where the system asks if he wants to roll for his class. He affirms that he wants to, while also praying to his ancestors to bless him with a decent class. The system begins the rolling process, and after a few seconds, it successfully rolls a hidden class, congratulating Qiao Yu. The class Qiao Yu gets is Necromancer, granting him the ability to summon undead. Seeing this, Qiao Yu is ecstatic, smiling widely. A Necromancer is an extremely rare class, with only 1 or 2 people in the entire world possessing it. With this class, the user can summon countless top-tier undead creatures, essentially becoming a one-man army, depending on their mana. In general, getting a hidden class makes one more powerful than others, and Qiao Yu decides to check his attribute page first. Analyzing his attributes, Qiao Yu is shocked to find that his spirit is at 0, leaving him in despair. Initial attribute points are distributed randomly like the class, and the highest point anyone can get is 10. For a mage, spirit is the most important stat. Seeing Qiao Yu in distress, the system asks if he wants to roll for a new talent, and with tears in his eyes, Qiao Yu agrees. The system begins rolling, and a swoosh of energy envelopes Qiao Yu, granting him a talent that gives 10 attribute points. The talent, Brave Heart of a Mage, has a passive that grants attribute points for physical kills and an active that equalizes all attributes to match a specific one. Qiao Yu is utterly bewildered, wondering if he's hallucinating, as gaining free attribute points is impossible except through leveling up. With such an overpowered passive, Qiao Yu realizes that if he kills enemies with physical attacks, he can raise all his attributes to match his highest one. If Qiao Yu uses the passive now, he would become an all-rounder with 10 points in every attribute. He wonders if he should wait until his strength reaches thousands before using this skill, turning himself into an unstoppable one-man army. Since his passive requires physical attacks, Qiao Yu believes strength is now his most important attribute. Lifting his hand, he tells the system to put all 10 of his attribute points into strength. The system complies, and now Qiao Yu has 20 points in strength. With this sorted, Qiao Yu's next step is to register and complete the beginner task to officially gain his class. The system begins teleporting Qiao Yu to his beginner task. A moment later, Qiao Yu finds himself in an unfamiliar place where a portal is set up, with a woman standing guard nearby. The woman, named Elaine, greets Qiao Yu and introduces herself as his guard, asking if he needs assistance. Upon seeing Elaine, Qiao Yu is struck by her beauty and wonders if she's an NPC before telling her he's here to register and accept his beginner task. Elaine happily summons a beginner's gift for Qiao Yu and offers her help. Opening the chest, Qiao Yu receives various items, including an old robe, a beginner's staff, and an F-grade skill book, Summon Skeletons. Donning the robe, Qiao Yu notes that it's merely an accessory, and since his spirit is 0, his summoning skill is currently useless. However, Qiao Yu is pleased to have the staff, as with 20 strength, he can use it as a melee weapon. Now prepared, he asks Elaine for his beginner task. Elaine points to the portal and explains that Qiao Yu's task is to escape from the Misty Cave. She warns Qiao Yu to be cautious and not to kill any skeleton soldiers, advising him to find the fastest route to escape. Before she can explain further, Qiao Yu has already disappeared. Qiao Yu, who found Elaine's explanations boring, steps into the portal and arrives in the Misty Cave, a dark cave filled with skeletons. Turning his head, he wonders wonders if Elaine said something important before he left. Shrugging it off, he decides the beginner task shouldn't be too hard, especially with so many skulls lying around. Suddenly, a skeleton soldier with a sword charges at Xiao Yu from behind. Sensing danger, Xiao Yu turns to see the skeleton soldier charging at him. Reacting swiftly, he summons his staff and raises it high, ready to counter the skeleton's attack. Swinging his staff, Xiao Yu strikes the skeleton in the face. The single strike decapitates the skeleton, causing its head to roll on the ground. Wondering if the skeleton is dead, Xiao Yu admits that not being able to use magic really sucks. With the skeleton's defeat, he gains 3 experience points and receives a first kill reward. The A-grade passive skill, Miracle of Might. This skill converts each point of strength into 2 points of attack power. With 21 points in strength, Xiao Yu now deals 42 damage per hit against opponents with no defense. Suddenly, a swarm of skeletons start emerging from the ground, their sights set on Xiao Yu. Seeing the skeletons, Xiao Yu decides to focus on finishing his task first. As the skeletons close in, weapons raised menacingly, Xiao Yu steels himself for the confrontation. In one swift motion, he swings his staff, hitting all the skeletons at once. As expected, the skeletons die from the single attack, giving Xiao Yu 12 more experience points. This allows Xiao Yu to level up, and he receives 5 attribute points, bringing his strength to 30. He starts to suspect that the skeletons in this cave were made for farming, finding it too easy. Suddenly, the ground bursts open, and a new skeleton, different from the others, emerges. It is the skeleton captain, slightly stronger than the previous ones. Noticing the skeleton captain has 15 strength, Xiao Yu realizes it could be dangerous if it hits him. However, since the skeleton captain has only 1 agility, Xiao Yu decides to strike first. Charging forward, Xiao Yu attacks, but the skeleton captain blocks with its shield. The skeleton captain retaliates with a swing of its sword, forcing Xiao Yu to leap aside to dodge. Xiao Yu is surprised to see the skeleton captain attack while defending and even smash the ground with its spear. Spotting an opening, Xiao Yu attacks again, hitting the skeleton at its waist with his staff. As the skeleton falls backward, Xiao Yu leaps into the air, ready to deliver the finishing blow. Daring the skeleton to block his attack, Xiao Yu lifts his staff high above his head and slams it down with force, dealing massive damage. With the skeleton finally defeated, Xiao Yu admits it was a tough fight. He wonders how others might have completed this beginner task if it's this difficult. A glowing sphere appears before Xiao Yu, which he assumes is the reward Principal Xue Jinlong mentioned. Upon opening it, he receives a disposable item, gloves that guarantee a 100% chance of dealing critical damage. While Xiao Yu inspects the reward, more skeletons begin to rise from the ground behind him. Sensing the skeletons, Xiao Yu turns around, puzzled by their sudden appearance. As the skeletons charge, Xiao Yu notices their numbers have significantly increased. Despite reaching level 2, Xiao Yu only has 20 health points, meaning a single hit could end him. Carefully and quickly, Xiao Yu weaves through the skeletons, taking them down one by one and gaining enough experience to reach level 3. Xiao Yu is glad that the skeletons only have 1 agility, making them easy to hit. Since he just leveled up, he summons the attribute screen to check his stats. Meanwhile, outside the school, the students are rejoicing and discussing the classes they just received. With everyone already out of their first trial, the students are confused as to why the principal hasn't made any announcements. They wonder if someone is still inside, not yet finished with their first task, and laugh at the thought of that person struggling to run from the skeletons. One of Xiao Yu's friends notices he hasn't come out yet and begins to worry if something might have happened to him. Back inside the cave, Xiao Yu has finally defeated all the skeletons but is puzzled as to why he hasn't received a notification for task completion. Suddenly, a loud voice booms through the cave, asking Xiao Yu how he dares to proceed. The skulls of the skeletons rise into the air, startling Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu recoils as the skulls begin flying rapidly towards something. They merge together in midair, leaving Xiao Yu even more taken aback. Once all the skulls have combined, a roaring wave of hellfire engulfs the area, revealing a massive skeleton with 3 flaming skulls. The Skeleton King, at level 10, lets out a massive roar, sending ripples through the air. Now slightly worried at this sight, Xiao Yu questions why there is a boss in a beginner's task. The Skeleton King raises its weapon high, ready to bring it down on Xiao Yu and smash him. Xiao Yu quickly leaps aside as the Skeleton King's attack narrowly misses him, striking the ground and blowing it apart. Xiao Yu feels lucky to have dodged, knowing he might have died otherwise. Analyzing the Skeleton King, Xiao Yu notices it is strong but not very nimble, making it vulnerable. He darts forward with full force, sprinting to the Skeleton King's backside and swinging his staff, dealing 32 damage. Seeing the low damage, Xiao Yu realizes he must strike the Skeleton King at least 10 more times to kill it. So, he launches launches a series of swift attacks, moving fast to avoid giving the Skeleton King a chance to retaliate. Hit by many attacks, the Skeleton King falls backward onto the floor. With the upper hand, Xiaoyu decides to finish it off, as the Skeleton King now has only 200 HP left. Suddenly, Xiaoyu's eyes widen in shock as the Skeleton King enters a fury state, with hellish flames intensifying around it. The Skeleton King rises, towering over Xiaoyu, declaring he won't leave the cave alive. Xiaoyu quickly takes a defensive position, realizing the Skeleton King has become stronger. The Skeleton King swings its massive sword, crackling with energy, preparing to strike. Xiaoyu notices that the Skeleton King is now faster too. With tremendous force, the Skeleton King slams its sword into the ground, destroying the area into rubble. Xiaoyu leaps backward a few paces, barely managing to dodge. Knowing he can't break through the Skeleton King's defense now, Xiaoyu decides to restrict its movement first. Unsure how to proceed, Xiaoyu looks around, searching for a solution. Miraculously, he notices a large, loose boulder behind the Skeleton King, ready to fall. As the Skeleton King launches another attack, Xiaoyu runs toward the boulder behind it. Once close, Xiaoyu turns to face the Skeleton King. He then taunts the Skeleton King, daring it to come at him. Taking the bait, the Skeleton King swings its sword with great force at Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu blocks the Skeleton King's sword with his staff. He directs the sword toward the boulder beside him, but accidentally gets hit in the process. Xiaoyu's HP suddenly drops from 30 to just 4. The Skeleton King raises its sword again, preparing to finish off Xiaoyu. Realizing he's in trouble, Xiaoyu, thanks to his agility, dodges just in time as the sword strikes the boulder. Finally, the boulder loosens and crumbles down upon the Skeleton King. As Xiaoyu rushes to safety, the boulder slams down on the Skeleton King, dealing 70 damage. The Skeleton King now has only 129 HP left out of 500. Knowing he can't keep fighting for long, Xiaoyu decides to end it before the Skeleton King can rise. With the intention of killing it in one strike, Xiaoyu leaps into the air towards the trapped Skeleton King. To deal maximum damage, Xiaoyu equips the boxing gloves he received earlier as he lunges downward. Putting all his strength into his fist, Xiaoyu descends, seeing the Skeleton King panicking. Trapped, the Skeleton King can't do anything as Xiaoyu's powerful punch lands, dealing 132 damage. With this, the Skeleton King is defeated, and Xiaoyu's beginner's trial ends, as a portal appears to take him back to the academy. Xiaoyu also receives 40 stat points and lots of experience, instantly reaching level 5. Additionally, Xiaoyu receives the Skeleton King's ring, a boss-level reward for completing the task. The ring boosts the wearer's first attack by 50%, which Xiaoyu notes is a great reusable item. Realizing it's a first kill reward, Xiaoyu wonders if no one has ever killed the Skeleton King before and how others pass the trial. Without dwelling on this doubt, Xiaoyu walks towards the portal to leave. Moments later, he's teleported back to the academy grounds, where the other students are already gathered. Yang Xiandi, Xiaoyu's friend, rushes toward him and hugs him excitedly. Yang Xiandi asks why Xiaoyu took so long, claiming the last person completed the mission 3 hours earlier. Xiaoyu asks Yang Xiandi about his class, and Yang Xiandi proudly reveals he's now a mage. At that moment, Ma Fei, the blonde class monitor, walks up to Xiaoyu, laughing at him for being the last to finish. Ma Fei asks Xiaoyu to guess his class, his tone revealing his arrogance. Annoyed, Xiaoyu realizes Ma Fei is trying to provoke him. The principal appears on stage, announcing that everyone is now enrolled in the otherworld and that tomorrow they will begin beginner's training. He suggests they introduce themselves to get to know each other better. The students start revealing their classes, with some pleased and others disappointed. Zhao Ziyue, a hot girl, says she is a mage and healer, receiving compliments from the nerds around her. Another girl, Zuyu, claims to be a meat shield, which is a B-rank talent. Ma Fei unsheathes his sword, revealing he is a swordsman, a B-rank talent as well. The students are impressed, recognizing the swordsman as a powerful class. The principal seems pleased with the number of students possessing B-rank talents. When it's Xiaoyu's turn, he reveals that he's a necromancer but admits he doesn't know his talent rank yet. The principal smiles, knowing the necromancer is a hidden role, while the other students react with shock. Ma Fei looks jealous of Xiaoyu's powerful class. He reassures himself that necromancers are weaker in battle, as their summoning takes time, making them vulnerable. Confident that Xiaoyu's talent must be low-ranked, Ma Fei grins smugly. The other students notice Xiaoyu's humility despite having a powerful class, praising his attitude. Xiaoyu forces a smile, feeling the pressure, knowing he can't even summon an undead. The principal is pleased, hoping Xiao Yu will make it into the nation's top universities after completing the beginner's training. After the introductions, the principal ends the class, granting the students time to prepare for tomorrow's training. Yang Xiandi puts his arm around Xiao Yu, calling him awesome and saying he wishes he had drawn the necromancer class too. Checking his attributes panel, Yang Xiandi points out that he has 8 vigor points and decent stats, asking if that's enough. Xiao Yu smiles, assuring Yang Xiandi that hard work can make up for clumsiness at this stage. Later that day, Xiao Yu enters his house, announcing that he's home. This is the house his parents left behind, and ever since their disappearance, Xiao Yu has continued to say I'm home upon entering. When Xiao Yu was 6, his parents left for the capital on a trip. They mysteriously disappeared during the trip and never returned, leaving Xiao Yu an orphan. 13 years later, Xiao Yu is still unsure of what happened to his parents. Determined to uncover the truth, Xiao Yu plans to enter the capital's university and investigate his parents' disappearance. The next day, all the students gather at the academy's grounds for the principal's instructions before the beginner's training. The principal requests that the students back down if they feel they can't handle the training. He advises them that it's okay to fail, but risking their lives isn't worth it. The principal continues, reminding them not to be overly nervous, though there is always a chance of danger. He then recounts a catastrophic incident where an entire class of 40 students vanished during a beginner's training. That world, known as Nightmare Village, remains infamous, as no one knows what kind of world caused the tragedy. Hearing this, Xiao Yu and the other students grow worried. The principal reassures them, stating that as long as they leave the other world on time, they'll be safe. He points to the stopwatch, explaining that when it reaches 0, they will enter the other world. The countdown begins, 7 seconds, 4 seconds, 1 second, and finally, 0. The beginner's training commences, and Xiao Yu feels himself getting teleported to the other world. Following a massive burst of dark energy, all the students are suddenly teleported to an otherworldly village. The students find the environment eerie, but the class monitor, Ma Fei, assures them he will protect them all. Unbeknownst to the students, they've arrived in the Nightmare Village mentioned earlier by the principal. Ma Fei, acting as a leader, tells the students to follow him, promising to lead them to success. Walking at the front with a smirk, Xiao Yu wants to prove himself as the leader and leave Ma Fei behind. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu, who doesn't care about impressing others, finds this beginner's world strange. Suddenly, a stranger with oddly colored skin appears behind the students and says it's a pity they are all so young. Alarmed, the students raise their guard as Xiao Yu asks the stranger what he means. With a dark expression, the stranger welcomes them to Nightmare Village, as lightning cracks in the sky and the day turns dark. The system window confirms it's Nightmare Village and challenges the students to find the secret at the core and leave alive. Realizing this village devoured 40 people long ago, the students begin to panic. Some, terrified, run towards the exit gate, shouting that they want to go home. Ma Fei shouts at the students to calm down, while Xiao Yu thinks passing this E-level world will be impossible. The otherworld levels are divided into Disciple, Early Stage, Middle Stage, and Late Stage. Disciples are levels 1 to 10, early stages are 11 to 20, and so on. The students running towards the gate bump into an energy barrier and are pushed back. The stranger tells them to stop struggling, pointing out that they can't leave. Hearing this, the students fall into chaos, some kneeling, others pulling their hair in terror. Xiao Yu, still composed, now understands why the previous 40 students were wiped out in this village. Walking forward, the stranger advises them to get comfortable. Ma Fei asks the stranger if he means they should relax and face the challenge confidently. The stranger says they should relax and accept that they'll die here. Shocked, the students are left speechless. To everyone's relief, the stranger laughs, revealing he's Wagan, the head of the village, and explains there are 2 rules for survival. The first rule: students can live in any empty house but must not touch the black stones on the doors. The second rule: they must return to the houses before dark, close all windows and doors, and not open them no matter what. Xiao Yu asks why they can't go out after dark. Wagan assures him that he'll understand later. Everyone decides to follow Wagan's instructions and search for houses, splitting into 4 groups of 11. Xiao Yu and his group choose a house and enter, slamming the door behind them. Inside, it's dark as they climb to the 2nd floor to rest for safety. The attractive girl, Zhao Ziyue, approaches Xiao Yu and tells him to protect her if any danger arises. Winking at him, she declares that she is a healer and promises to give Xiao Yu plenty of HP. Noticing Zhao Ziyue's attempts to flirt, Zuyu steps forward and asks her how shameless she can be. The 2 girls begin to argue, body shaming each other in a heated exchange. village. Suyu calls Zhao Ziyue as fat as a cow. Meanwhile, as all this is happening, one of the guys stands by the window and spots his granny outside. The boy's granny asks him to open the window, claiming it's cold outside. Believing it's his granny, the boy agrees to open it. Seeing this, Xiao Yu shouts to the boy that it's not his granny, but it's too late. The granny's eyes glow red as she lunges at the boy. The other students get on guard as the granny reveals her ghostly form, preparing to attack the boy. Suddenly, a burst of sand shields the boy from the ghost. Yang Xiandi, the mage, has his wand raised, telling the boy to run. Taking the opportunity, the boy quickly flees from the ghost. The ghost is actually a normal monster, a level 3 creature known as Nightmare. The students are horrified at the sight of the Nightmare's true form. The Nightmare suddenly leaps at Yang Xiandi, hoping the Nightmare won't choose him because he's too fat. Yang Xiandi jokes that if it eats him, it will gain the 3 eyes. At that moment, Suyu steps in front of Yang Xiandi and summons a powerful shield, halting the Nightmare's attack. As her health drains, she asks Zhao Ziyue to heal her and instructs Xiao Yu to summon the undead to restrain the Nightmare. Both Zhao Ziyue and Xiao Yu agree to Zuyu's instructions, and Zhao Ziyue quickly begins casting her healing magic. Pointing her hand at Zuyu, she begins healing her. Zuyu hopes that if they work together, they can defeat the Nightmare. She then sees Xiao Yu charging headfirst toward the Nightmare and is bewildered. As he can't summon undead, Xiao Yu lunges at the Nightmare with his staff raised to strike. Seeing this, Yang Xiandi shouts at Xiao Yu not to use the staff that way and to stay away from the Nightmare. But Xiao Yu, confident in his approach, swings his staff and lands a perfect hit on the monster. The monster dies on the spot and dissolves into mist. Witnessing Xiao Yu take down the monster in an instant, the others are left in awe. The monster completely dissolves, leaving behind a black stone. Suyu notices the black stone is similar to those on the doorframe. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu is puzzled, wondering if there's a bug since he didn't receive any stat points despite the kill. Seeing Xiao Yu lost in thought, Suyu asks if he found something, but he replies he was just overthinking. The next day, Xiao Yu's group emerges from their shelter to join the other groups outside, all of them relieved and happy to have survived the night. Ma Fei hears the teen members from the group talking about how Xiao Yu killed the Nightmare and listens to their conversation intently. But as arrogant as he is, he thinks that if he were in Xiao Yu's place, he wouldn't have hid behind girls to defeat the Nightmare. Flexing his sword, he boasts that he would defeat the Nightmares with a single strike. Noticing Ma Fei with the sword, Xiao Yu asks if he is training this early or what, and Yang Xiandi points out that it's expected of the class monitor. Realizing he was daydreaming, Ma Fei clears his throat embarrassingly and says he was just practicing. He then asks Suyu to join his team, promising to protect her from damage, but she declines, stating that as the tank, her duty is to shield others. Xiao Yu listens with interest as Zuyu argues with Ma Fei, calling him out for his short-sightedness. Suddenly, a loud shout startles Xiao Yu as he turns around. The villagers, led by the village head, come rushing toward the students as if to attack them. Pointing ahead, the village head instructs the villagers to kill anyone who resists. Puzzled at seeing this, Ma Fei asks the village head if there's been a misunderstanding, and the village head mentions something that happened last night. Counting the villagers, Xiao Yu finds that there are the same number of villagers as there are students. Ma Fei asks the village head if he means the Nightmare killed last night, and the head shouts angrily that those nightmares were the village's protector spirits. He also points out that the protector spirits will be angered now and make the villagers suffer, cursing the students as he speaks. Ma Fei asks if they can do anything to help and resurrect the protector spirit since they killed it unknowingly. The village head affirms there is a way and says the person who angered the protector spirit must remain outside when night falls. Hearing this, Ma Fei thinks to himself that staying outside is basically suicide, especially since the protector spirits are angered now. Xiao Yu steps forward and takes responsibility for killing the protector spirit, offering to stay outside the next night. Ma Fei turns to Xiao Yu, asking if he has lost his mind, and then turns back to the village head, trying to reason with him to think of another way. Xiao Yu assures Ma Fei he is serious and notes that his staying outside might even help them leave this world. The village head agrees to this, and they tie Xiao Yu to a cross with his hands chained. Ma Fei asks Xiao Yu what he meant when he said this could help them leave this world, and Zuyu asks him if he's found the secret at the core of this village. Sounding confident, Xiao Yu claims he might have found a way and will test it tonight. Hours later, night has fallen, and everyone has retreated inside their houses, leaving only Xiao Yu outside, still tied to the cross. A nightmare climbs onto the roof of a nearby house, sensing Xiao Yu. It slowly begins to crawl forward. The nightmare lunges at Xiao Yu from behind. Xiao Yu snaps his eyes open as a burst of sand engulfs the nightmare, preventing it from reaching him. Yang Xiandi, who just used the sand spell, shouts at Ma Fei to act quickly. Out of nowhere, Ma Fei lunges towards the nightmare with his sword raised high to attack it. Ma Fei gives a shocked look as the nightmare swings its claws at him, prompting him to block with his sword. Seeing the nightmare's speed, Ma Fei is taken aback, wondering how Qiao Yu managed to kill one. However, his arrogance takes over, and he believes if Qiao Yu killed the nightmare, he can too, so he charges forward. He then swings his sword with all his might at the nightmare. While Ma Fei battles the nightmare, the two girls rush to free Qiao Yu, surprising him that they stayed to help. Suyu tries to remove the chains, but finds them too tough and asks what to do. Qiao Yu applies a little force and manages to shatter the chains. Amazed by Qiao Yu's strength, the two girls ask if he's sure he's a necromancer. Meanwhile, Ma Fei's battle with the nightmare rages on as he sends an air blade at it. The girls join the battle to assist Ma Fei against the nightmare. Despite looking tired, Ma Fei tells the girls to stay back, saying he can solo the nightmare like a true hero. Watching from the side, others give Ma Fei tips, telling him to aim for the nightmare's head for a one-shot kill. Hearing this advice, Ma Fei acknowledges it and decides to try. Qiao Yu tries to tell Ma Fei the nightmare's weak point isn't the head, but Ma Fei ignores him. Ma Fei raises his sword high, dashes past the nightmare, and strikes its head. But he is shocked when the nightmare doesn't die, despite the hit to its head. Even Yang Xiangdi and Zuyu are puzzled, remembering that Qiao Yu one-shot the nightmare last night. Ma Fei realizes, with shattering confidence, that he might not be as good as Qiao Yu. As Ma Fei's attack fails, others tell him to retreat and let Qiao Yu handle the nightmare. However, Ma Fei's ego pushes him to defeat the nightmare on his own, so he braces himself as the nightmare lunges at him. Reacting swiftly, he swipes his sword and lands a perfect cut on the nightmare. The nightmare is slammed to the ground with only 5 HP left, and Ma Fei prepares to finish it off. Suddenly, Qiao Yu's staff lands the finishing blow on the nightmare, leaving Ma Fei bewildered as he shouts in shock. Qiao Yu praises Ma Fei for working hard and collects the black stone, while Ma Fei fumes angrily that Qiao Yu stole his kill. Examining the black stone, Qiao Yu walks away, while Ma Fei continues shouting angrily that Qiao Yu cheated. At that moment, 2 more nightmares arrive, leaping into the air as Zuyu notices them and warns the others. Qiao Yu tells his friends to rush to the house and stay safe instead of fighting, claiming he knows how to pass. Listening to Qiao Yu, they all run inside and slam the door before the nightmares can touch them. Once inside, Yang Xiangdi locks the door as Zuyu asks what Qiao Yu meant by knowing how to pass. Qiao Yu responds that they will know tomorrow and assures his friends to trust him. The next day, the village head confronts Qiao Yu and the others for killing another nightmare and curses them to rot in hell. Fuming with anger, the head declares that no matter what, Qiao Yu and his friends deserve to die. Qiao Yu asks the head if he and the others are really the villagers of this village, and the head claims they've lived there for generations. Qiao Yu then declares that the time has come to reveal the actual truth behind Nightmare Village. Puzzled, the head asks what Qiao Yu means by that. Pointing at the head and the others, Qiao Yu accuses them of not being the original inhabitants of Nightmare Village. Qiao Yu reveals that the head and the 40 others are the class that was wiped out in the village previously. He adds that they've been trapped in this fantasy realm ever since they entered, with no way of leaving. The village head laughs at this and claims Qiao Yu is making up stories with no evidence. Qiao Yu, with a smirk, claims he has evidence. He takes out the stone and shows it to the head, who accuses Qiao Yu of removing the stone despite the instructions not to. Following Qiao Yu, the 4 others also withdraw their own protector stones. The head is shocked, noting that the stones are the only things protecting them from being attacked, and now the students have ruined everything. Raising the stone, Qiao Yu claims it isn't a protector stone, explaining that as each stone is destroyed, cracks will appear in the fantasy realm. He signals his friends, and they all throw the stones hard on the ground together. As the stones shatter, the sky begins to crack like glass. Suddenly, the village head feels a throbbing pain as memories of his past as a class monitor flood back. He recalls entering this other world with his friends and being turned into the creatures they are now, brainwashed into thinking they are villagers. The class monitor finally remembers his true identity. At that moment, the system notifies the students that they've found the secret, awakened the villagers, and passed. With the task over, teleportation back to the school begins, and the class monitor extends his thanks to Qiao Yu and his friends. Feeling proud, Yang Xiangdi praises Qiao Yu for his thinking and asks how he knew all that, but Qiao Yu suggests they discuss it later. However, they all get puzzled when they realize that all the other students have been teleported back, but the 5 of them are still in the village. The system appears and notifies them that a new mission has been assigned to retrieve the Heart of Nightmares, with a difficulty rating of E rank. Back at the 4th campus, all the students successfully return from the Nightmare Village but notice Qiao Yu and his friends are still missing. The principal, aware of the hidden mission, realizes that if Qiao Yu and his group complete it, they can choose any university in the country. However, he also knows that hidden missions are usually dangerous and doubts if the 5 newbies can complete it. Meanwhile, in the Nightmare Village, the group discusses what to do regarding the mission they just received. Zuyu asks Qiao Yu if they were only supposed to awaken the village head and didn't have to break the stones. Impressed, Yang Xiandi points out that Qiao Yu must have known that breaking the stones would activate the hidden mission, which is why he asked them to do it. Yang Xiandi happily shakes Qiao Yu, thanking him for considering his friends and sharing the mission with them, while Qiao Yu gives a nervous smile, unaware of the hidden mission. Suddenly, 4 nightmares arrive, crawling through the houses and roofs. The nightmares have the sole intent of killing Qiao Yu and his friends. Seeing the nightmares, Yang Xiandi curses and worriedly says they can't fight that many nightmares at once. Having no choice, the 5 spring into action and fight back, working together. As the swordsman, Ma Fei charges forward, attacking with his sword techniques, but he's startled to see his attack only do 10 points of damage. Zuyu, whose HP is rapidly decreasing from summoning her shield, shouts at Qiao Yu and Ma Fei to hurry and finish the nightmares. Qiao Yu swings his staff, killing a nightmare with a single attack and earning 10 experience, while Zuyu warns him to watch his back. Turning around, Qiao Yu sees 2 more nightmares charging at him. Reacting quickly, he swings his staff again and kills both nightmares with 1 strike. He earns more experience and also a high reward. Upon opening the reward, he receives a fairy's necklace, which increases skill damage by 5%, but only mages can use it. In a few minutes, the 5 defeat the nightmares by working together, and Qiao Yu suggests they keep searching for more. He's currently at level 5 and needs to kill 1 more nightmare to reach level 6. As they search the village, Yang Xiandi reminds Qiao Yu of their mission to retrieve the Heart of Nightmares, and Qiao Yu replies that it must be on one of the nightmares. Suddenly, Qiao Yu steps on a trap, causing the ground beneath them to shatter, and all 5 fall into a deep hole. They fall several feet, completely taken aback by the unexpected trap. After landing at the bottom, Qiao Yu looks puzzled by the soft, squishy ground. Realizing he landed on Yang Xiandi's body, Qiao Yu understands why the ground felt soft. Getting up, Qiao Yu asks if everyone is fine, and Zuyu confirms they are. Looking around, Yang Xiandi asks why it smells so bad, like they've fallen into a sewer, and Zuyu explains that it's normal for such places. Zhao Ziyue notices something and tells the others to look over there, noting that the smell is coming from a breath. The group turns to see a massive nightmare sleeping peacefully before them. It's a level 10 nightmare king with very strong attributes, and the system warns that waking it will trigger a frenzied haunting. Qiao Yu notes that, like the skeleton king, the Nightmare King is level 10 but much stronger. Yang Xiandi suggests the Heart of Nightmares is likely in the Nightmare King's heart, while Zuyu thinks they should avoid fighting it. Even Ma Fei, intimidated by the Nightmare King, agrees to avoid fighting for now. However, Qiao Yu, who has 101 strength points that can be doubled, says they might have a chance. He also has the Skeleton King's ring, which increases his damage by 50%, and he believes with all their resources, they can defeat the Nightmare King. Thinking Qiao Yu is crazy, Yang Xiandi checks his forehead to see if he has a fever. Qiao Yu reasons that the Nightmare King's weakness is its defense, so if they work together, they can win. Zuyu asks if they need to distract the Nightmare King, and Qiao Yu confirms, saying he can kill it if it's distracted. He admits it's dangerous and one hit from the Nightmare King could kill them, but he believes their teamwork will prevail. Reassured, everyone except Ma Fei agrees to follow Qiao Yu's plan. Giving a superior look, Ma Fei tells Qiao Yu not to show off if he can't fight and to run if necessary. Smiling, Qiao Yu reassures Ma Fei. While the Nightmare King sleeps, Qiao Yu gently leaps onto its body. Knowing the Nightmare King won't wake unless attacked, Qiao Yu searches for its weak point. He suddenly sees something glowing. Taking a closer look, Qiao Yu believes it's the Nightmare King's weak point. Without hesitation, he raises his staff, preparing to smash it. With all his strength, he brings the staff down, activating the Skeleton King's ring to amplify the damage. With a deafening crash, the staff strikes the Nightmare King's weak point, dealing critical damage. Seeing such high damage, Yang Xiandi and Ma Fei are left open-mouthed in shock. The system notifies them that Qiao Yu has shattered the Nightmare King's heart, waking it up, and their new mission is to kill it. The Nightmare King rises to its full height, letting out a roar as Qiao Yu quickly jumps down. Landing on the ground, Qiao Yu signals everyone to get ready and follow the plan. The Nightmare King notices them and hisses, calling them vile humans. Fully awakened and up to its full height, the terrifying-looking Nightmare King towers over the five. Qiao Yu instructs Ma Fei to attack the Nightmare King and draw its aggro. Following Qiao Yu's orders, Ma Fei charges toward the Nightmare King, his sword drawn and ready. Once near the Nightmare King, he strikes it with his sword, causing only 1 damage. Seeing his damage so weak, Ma Fei asks how Qiao Yu managed to deal 508 damage as he prepares to attack again. Fast and furious, Ma Fei begins dealing a series of back-to-back blows at the Nightmare King, dealing damage in 1s and 2s. Meanwhile, the Nightmare King only feels tickled by Ma Fei's attack, as if a worm is bothering it. Finally deciding to crush Ma Fei, the Nightmare King thrusts its 3-foot-long sword at him, but Ma Fei stands his ground despite the attack. At the last moment, he bellows out and signals Yang Xiangni and Zuiyu to act. With Yang Xiangni's sand binding in Zuiyu's shield, they successfully manage to stop the Nightmare King's sword before it can strike Ma Fei. But despite the Nightmare King's sword being blocked, it still causes shockwaves that manage to hit Ma Fei. Ma Fei's health decreases by -25, and Zhao Ziyue begins to heal him while Zuiyu notes that Ma Fei won't be able to hang on much longer. Ma Fei also realizes this and shouts out at Qiao Yu, asking if he's ready to attack. Sprinting forward with all his might, Qiao Yu informs Ma Fei he's coming. Lunging at the Nightmare King, Qiao Yu strikes it and deals 182 damage in 1 hit. The Nightmare King's health drops down to 336. And the system informs that it is about to activate the Realm of Nightmares. Qiao Yu is taken aback by this information as the Nightmare King begins to release darkness all around it. The shockwaves travel toward the 3, dealing AoE damage to them and making them unable to block it. Before the Nightmare King can completely engulf the area in darkness, Qiao Yu decides to end it. So, he once again swings his staff and, shouting at the Nightmare King to stop the spell, strikes it, dealing another 182 damage. Now the Nightmare King has only 128 HP, which means Qiao Yu just needs 1 more direct hit. So, putting everything on the line, Qiao Yu leaps into the air and jumps straight for the Nightmare King's head, his staff raised high above him. Watching anxiously from below, Zhao Ziyue and Zuiyu hold their breath, anxiously asking Qiao Yu to be careful. Shouting out loud, Qiao Yu closes in on the Nightmare King and slams his staff at its head, dealing a total of 128 damage. Finally, the Nightmare King dies, providing Qiao Yu loads of stat points and experience, completing the hidden mission to kill the Nightmare King. With this, the system begins evaluating the player's completion rate and level to distribute rewards. Everyone there begins cheering happily that they did it, while the system completes the evaluation. Zhao Ziyue receives a D rank rating and a D rank talent, while Zuiyu receives a C rank rating and a similar D rank talent. As for Yang Xiangni, he receives a C rank rating and a D rank talent, and Ma Fei also receives a C rank rating and a D rank talent. Meanwhile, Qiao Yu receives an A rank rating, 50 experience points, and a B rank skill book as a reward. Qiao Yu knows that he can't use the talent for now, but at least he still has the Nightmare King's soul and hopes it will drop some good stuff. But the soul ends up granting him a B rank sword. Seeing the sword, which he has no use for, Qiao Yu doesn't look happy, while Ma Fei, upon seeing the sword, looks stunned. So Qiao Yu throws the sword at Ma Fei, pointing out that he's the only one who uses a sword, so he should have it. Staring longingly at the sword, Ma Fei asks Qiao Yu if he even knows the value of this B-rank sword and claims that by selling this, Qiao Yu could buy a house in the capital. But Qiao Yu says he doesn't care about a house and continues inspecting if the Nightmare King has any more useful loot for him. Finding nothing, he decides to give up and looks at his stats page, noting that while his strength is high, his HP is only 70, making him too vulnerable. But his talent's passive restriction doesn't allow for other stats to be increased, so he resolves to think of more ways to keep himself alive. With the hidden mission completed, the 5 of them start getting teleported back to the real world. A second later, they arrive back at their academy. The other students gathered in the hall notice the 5 of them and exclaim happily that they have returned. The principal comes running towards them, looking relieved they are safe and back, and claims they have been gone for 2 days, asking what happened. After Qiao Yu explains everything, the principal laughs and claims that's what he thought, telling them they can now enter any top university in the world. Qiao Yu's classmates also all look very proud that their class has managed to produce 5 geniuses. Meanwhile, Ma Fei seems a little envious seeing Qiao Yu take all the praise and looks forward to proving himself, using the sword Xiao Yu gave him. At that moment, a man comes running into the hall and informs the principal that people from Huaqing University and Jingdu University have arrived. The reason for their arrival, the man reveals, is for the 5 of them. Hearing this, the principal is a little surprised as he hadn't reported anything about the hidden mission but still feels pleased. Seconds later, 2 men, each from one of those top universities, walk into the hall. They happily shake hands with the principal, and the principal happily greets them. Teacher Peng notices Xiao Yu and the others, calling their success in passing Nightmare Village and the hidden mission extraordinary. He then them and introduces himself as the recruitment head at Jingdu University, offering to send acceptance letters if they agree. Looking annoyed, Teacher Pei asks Teacher Peng how he can be this straightforward, suggesting they first test the students. Then he also introduces himself to the 5 as the one in charge of recruitment at Huaqing University. He assures the 5 not to worry and says that the test is just to determine their roles and abilities to see if they meet the criteria to enter the universities. Xiao Yu feels anxious about having to demonstrate his abilities, as he can't use them yet, but he knows he must enter Jingdu University to search for his parents. Teacher Peng asks the 5 which of them wants to be tested first. Ma Fei steps forward to go first and introduces himself, along with his skills and talents. As Ma Fei prepares for a test with Teacher Pei, Teacher Peng observes his solid build and talent, eager to recruit him for his university. Teacher Pei, who is level 25 with good attributes, tells Ma Fei to try and attack him. Raising his sword confidently, Ma Fei tells Teacher Pei to be careful, and then he thrusts his sword straight at Teacher Pei, who summons a barrier around him. Seeing Ma Fei's sword pierce his barrier, Teacher Pei is stunned. He then praises Ma Fei for having a powerful technique, as Ma Fei thanks him. Teacher Peng notes that Ma Fei's attack indicates a strength stat of at least 35 points, and the speed suggests his agility is also quite high. Hearing Ma Fei has 35 attack at level 5, the other students are all shocked, finding it really high. Meanwhile, Teacher Pei is certain Teacher Peng must be trying to drag Ma Fei back to his own university, so he asks Ma Fei if he has chosen a university yet, while Teacher Peng smilingly suggests he join his for maximum perks. Ma Fei asks for time to think, suggesting the teachers test others while he observes to see where Xiao Yu goes, planning to follow him to outclass him. Teacher Pei agrees to Ma Fei's request and asks who wants to go next. Zhao Ziyue walks forward, introducing herself. She begins showing her healing talent. Seeing her skill, Teacher Pei is impressed that she can heal a whole party despite being level 4. Next, it's Ziyu's turn, and she showcases her shielding and defense techniques. Teacher Pei is open-jawed in amazement that Ziyu has such strong defensive ability at only level 4. He asks Ziyu if it's her talent, and Ziyu affirms it is, beginning to explain its attributes and what it can do. Teacher Pei acknowledges that it's not bad and admits the ability is really useful. Next, Yang Xiaomi steps up, and seeing that he is heavy-set, Teacher Pei asks if he is also a tank, but Yang Xiaomi says he is a mage. Hearing the 300+ pound Yang Xiaomi is a mage, Teacher Pei finds it hard to believe. Nevertheless, he gives Yang Xiaomi permission to showcase his skills as Yang Xiaomi raises his staff. For a moment, Teacher Pei thinks Yang Xiaomi is wasting time, not feeling a bit of magic coming from him. Yang Xiaomi, meanwhile, closes his eyes and uses a ground explosion magic, causing a massive explosion to erupt before him. Completely bewildered at this sudden explosion, Teacher Pei notes that he just lost 3 HP without even realizing it. He then looks over at the principal of the academy and decides to keep an eye on him, as he's already produced 5 geniuses in his academy. With all other 4 tested, only Xiao Yu is left, and he walks forward to introduce himself and his class, with his talent unknown. Hearing Xiao Yu is level 7, Teacher Peng finds it impressive and wonders if he has a lower ranked talent, which is why it's listed as unknown. Teacher Pei suggests they carry out the test first to determine what talent Xiao Yu has, and Xiao Yu agrees. Secretly inside, Teacher Pei is very much looking forward to seeing what kind of creature Xiao Yu can summon, but seeing Xiao Yu charge at him, Teacher Pei is puzzled, not sure why Xiao Yu is doing that instead of summoning the undead. As Xiao Yu thrusts a punch toward Teacher Pei, he is still puzzled about what Xiao Yu is actually trying to do. Anyway, he decides to tank Xiao Yu's attack, thinking Jis strength will be really low since he's a mage. Xiao Yu's punch connects right under Teacher Pei's chin, dealing him 200 damage and sending him flying backward. He crashes down a few feet away and slams onto the floor. Seeing this, The principal and the other students are all open-jawed in shock, watching Qiao Yu knock out a level 25 teacher in one hit. Everyone is bewildered. Teacher Peng, equally taken aback, asks Teacher Pei how he could be tossed around like this by a mere level 7 necromancer. Even Teacher Pei himself is unsure what just happened and how a brat at level 7 could deal such damage with one punch. The students aren't sure what to make of Qiao Yu's strength, and they begin discussing theories as to why Qiao Yu is this strong. Meanwhile, Teacher Peng begins to sweat a little and feels relieved that he didn't volunteer for the test, or he would have been the one attacked. Qiao Yu asks if his test is over, and Teacher Peng points out that although he passed the test, he hasn't shown his undead magic. Since he can't reveal he can't use magic, Qiao Yu says he has decided to major in physical fights like warriors and won't focus on magic. Hearing Qiao Yu wants to specialize in a role other than his own, Teacher Peng says he must ask the principal of their university and tells Qiao Yu to wait. Calling the principal on his phone, Teacher Peng informs him about Qiao Yu's request to join the fighting major despite being a necromancer. He also tells the principal how Qiao Yu sent Teacher Pei flying with a single punch, prompting the principal to instruct Teacher Peng to accept Qiao Yu at once. Not only that, the principal decides to personally contact Qiao Yu through a video call. Appearing before Qiao Yu as a hologram, the principal introduces himself and tells Qiao Yu to join his university. Without hearing the principal's offers, Qiao Yu declares that he will join the university. Seeing Qiao Yu agree to the other university, Teacher Pei is taken aback after contacting his principal, hangs up, and decides to fight for the remaining 4. However, the principal offers the 4 a place at his university alongside Qiao Yu, infuriating Teacher Pei, who feels the principal is trying to take all the students for himself. Meanwhile, Teacher Peng is very pleased and confident this might be the highlight of his admissions career. Qiao Yu says he wants to ask the principal some questions and asks him if he knows his father, Qiao Anqing. Hearing Qiao Yu is Qiao Anqing and Bai Shixia's son, the principal is shocked and claims this is why he felt such a strong sense of familiarity when he saw Qiao Yu. Qiao Yu is even more baffled that the principal knows his parents and asks him if he knows where they are now. But to Qiao Yu's disappointment, the principal claims he hasn't seen Qiao Yu's parents in over 10 years. The principal then notes that he hasn't been able to get more info on Qiao Yu's parents since they graduated, and he recalls their discussion about a private world and suggests Qiao Yu visit it, where he might find something his parents left for him. With everything settled, the principal informs the 5 that he will send their acceptance letters to them directly as soon as he can. He wishes them good luck and says he'll see them at Jingdu University. 1 week has passed, and after the beginner's training, the 4th college has separated its students into classes based on their roles in the other world to prepare them for elite universities. Meanwhile, in the 4th college mages class, the principal is informing the mages that they will be entering a world designed for them. He then explains the criteria for the mages to pass the world. A few hours later, Qiao Yu and Yang Xiangdi arrive at the portal, and Qiao Yu asks if they can really do this, just the 2 of them. Yang Xiangdi jokingly asks Qiao Yu to carry him for now instead of their other friends, pointing out that he can always carry the others after they pass. Just then, Yang Xiangdi notices Elaine standing by the portal and tells her they are going to the specialized mages world. Elaine welcomes them and begins retrieving the world for them. After a few seconds, she successfully retrieves a specialized world, the Cave of 10,000 Poisons. With their world ready, Qiao Yu starts walking toward the portal, but Yang Xiangdi tells him to wait and listen to the instructions first. Qiao Yu is surprised to hear there are instructions, while Yang Xiangdi asks how he didn't know and if he killed the skeletons in the Cave of Skeletons, making Qiao Yu realize he might have made a mistake. Elaine explains that an ancient, evil tribe in Qiandanan is vicious and skilled in using poisonous worms that can poison without detection, causing the infected to grow deathly sick as the worms reproduce in their bodies and consume their flesh until they die. She mentions that the objective is to find the evil tribe of legend and destroy all the poisonous worms, with the mission reward based on how the mission is completed. She also reminds them that the Cave of 10,000 Poisons requires 5 players to start, so the system will match them with other random players. After a few seconds, Qiao Yu and Yang Xiangdi are teleported into the world, along with 3 other players, as informed by Elaine. A mean-looking dude among the 3 tells Qiao Yu and Yang Xiangdi not to drag them down, while the girl among them tells the mean dude to be polite. The girl introduces herself as Fang Yuan, a fire mage, and the others as Fang Sun and Wang Chang. Smiling back, Yang Xiangdi introduces himself and Qiao Yu to the others. Ready to move forward, the 5 approach a door with 5 words inscribed on the wall, believing they are instructions to open it, but Long Chang arrogantly declares he will just break it down, and he shoots a powerful spell at the door, but it has no effect. Shocked by the lack of effect, Long Chang is taken aback as Fang Yuan points out that the door is immune to magic and suggests they look at the words. Xiao Yu stares at the door, noting that it's immune to magic, and seems to have an idea. Right then Fang Yuan shouts out that she has figured out the answer to the sentence. But before she can say anything, Xiao Yu punches the door with such force that he shatters it. Seeing this, both Fang Yuan and Long Chang are shocked, their jaws dropping in disbelief. The system notifies them that breaking the door open was the correct move as Yang Xiangdi runs toward Xiao Yu, shouting that what he did was impressive. Xiao Yu, puzzled himself, claims he was just trying to push the door open and didn't expect it to be so weak. After entering through the first door, they arrive at a flower field, and beyond it is another door. Walking forward, Xiao Yu warns everyone to be careful, but Yang Xiangdi notices his hand emitting dark smoke and becomes worried. Not just Yang Xiangdi, but everyone begins to emit the same dark smoke, realizing they have been poisoned. Panicking, Yang Xiangdi asks what they should do, and Xiao Yu suggests they keep moving forward to get out of the hall. Xiao Yu is worried that with his low HP, if it keeps dropping, he will die in half an hour. As they arrive before the next large door, they find more words inscribed on it. Fang Yuan and Long Chang give annoyed looks, cursing at the more strange words. Like before, Xiao Yu punches the door and shatters it. Clutching his fist, he says he doesn't care about figuring out answers. With the path clear, the five sprint outside. The three guys seem really taken aback by Xiao Yu's direct approach and lack of thought before action. The system congratulates the players for completing the first mission of finding the evil tribe of legend. At that moment, a little girl arrives, notices the five, and introduces herself as Xiao Dong, asking if they came from the outside. She notices they are poisoned and claims it's from the Bien flower. Turning around, Xiao Dong tells the five to follow her to the cave of 10,000 poisons to get treated before the poison kills them. Xiao Yu is surprised by the appearance of this little girl, while Fang Yuan says they have no choice but to follow her and get treated. After a few minutes, the five follow Xiao Dong to the tribe, where she calls out to her parents, saying she has brought guests. The mother asks who the strangers are, and Xiao Dong explains that they are outsiders who are poisoned, so she brought them for treatment. Hearing they are poisoned, the mother tells them to rest while she prepares the antidote. After some rest, the mother brings the five poisons soup, the antidote. The soup looks disgusting, made from insects and bones. Long Chang, revolted, tells Yang Xiangdi to drink the soup first, but Yang Xiangdi, equally repulsed, refuses. Meanwhile, with his HP almost halved, Xiao Yu drinks all the soup in one gulp. After finishing, Xiao Yu smiles, claiming it tastes great and that he is cured, suggesting the others drink up. Unlike Xiao Yu, the others feel sick and begin to throw up, while Xiao Yu asks Xiao Dong if she knows more about the cave of 10,000 poisons, but she shares little. The mother points out that the poison has been dealt with and tells the five to leave quickly as they don't like guests. Displeased, Xiao Dong asks her mother why she is chasing away their guests. She assures Xiao Yu they can stay as long as they like. Xiao Yu agrees to stay a little longer, noting that their bodies are still weak from the poison, while wondering why the mother is acting strange. Xiao Dong and her parents leave the house, closing the door behind them, and tell Xiao Yu and the others to rest for the night. Turning around, Xiao Dong grabs her parents' hands, suggesting they go somewhere. Xiao Dong excitedly exclaims that the full moon is tonight, saying something is about to start. Deep within the forest, in the middle of a large opening, a group of people are gathered, looking like they're performing a ritual. Under the blood-red full moon, a woman prays to the great insect swarm, offering fresh human to bless the cave of 10,000 souls. She raises her hand, letting blood trickle from her wounded finger into the well below. Suddenly, a massive swarm of insects begins emerging from the well, in millions. Two humans who have been captured and tied down watch in horror as the insects begin flying at them. Just at this, within seconds, the millions of insects reduce those two people to just bones. Xiao Yu and his friends, who had sneaked here, notice the sacrifice in process and watch horrified. Xiao Yu suggests they should escape from here, pointing out that they can't deal with the poisonous insects and so many tribespeople. Unfortunately, a woman notices the five of them and calls them rats. She then orders a tough-looking man named Zhu Xia to follow after the five and capture them alive. Meanwhile, the five have retreated back to the house and are in panic, not sure what to do now. Fang Yuan notes that if the tribespeople find out their plan is to exterminate the insects, they will immediately immediately be fed to them. Suddenly, Qiao Yu hears a loud noise from behind and cautions the others. To their horror, the five realize that the insects have trapped them from all sides and cut off their escape. Fang Yuan, being a fire mage, quickly uses a fire enchantment spell and summons roaring fire around her. Qiao Yu starts swinging his staff and killing the ants, but he realizes killing them won't get him any stat points. Yang Xiangdi uses his sand binding and ground explosion magic and causes the whole house to blow up. Seeing they are no longer trapped, Qiao Yu praises Yang Xiangdi for his combined skills, causing maximum damage to the surroundings. Right then, Zhu Xia, the bulky dude, arrives there, and seeing the five have killed some of the insects, he declares that they will now be fed to the insects. Raising his wand, Yang Xiangdi uses ground explosion magic right below Zhu Xia, dealing 11 damage to him. Now looking even more angry, Zhu Xia, who is level 10, scoffs, calling the five arrogant for attacking without talking. Seeing Zhu Xia's stats, a concerned Long Chang asks how they can even win against him, as he's basically like a boss. Getting himself on his guard, Qiao Yu wonders if this specialized world is different from others in some ways. And then he dashes toward Zhu Xia head-on to attack him, while Zhu Xia, not considering Qiao Yu a threat, stands his ground. Thrusting his fist forward, Qiao Yu punches Zhu Xia hard and sends him flying backward, dealing 121 damage. Taken aback seeing a mere human do him such damage, Zhu Xia becomes furious and enters an insect bite state, now bloodlust. Long Chang looks terrified as he sees Zhu Xia's stats have increased and his defense has multiplied several times. His eyes blazing, Zhu Xia claims that no one can deal damage to him now. Seeing Zhu Xia's confidence, Qiao Yu gives a look that says, "Are you sure?" And within seconds, Qiao Yu manages to beat the crap out of Zhu Xia and defeat him. While the three are once again shocked to witness Qiao Yu's strength, Qiao Yu demands Zhu Xia explain everything. With a swollen face, Zhu Xia explains the earlier ritual was the monthly insect sacrifice led by their matriarch on the full moon, paying homage to the insect queen mother in the ancient greenstone well. Yang Xiangdi points out that Xiao Dong's family likely helped them heal so they could become the next month's sacrifice. Qiao Yu asks Zhu Xia why Xiao Dong called the tribe the Cave of 10,000 Souls while others call it the Cave of 10,000 Poisons. Puzzled by this question, Zhu Xia asks who Qiao Yu means by Xiao Dong, and claims that the only one named Sun Dong is their matriarch. Qiao Yu thanks Zhu Xia for his cooperation, prompting Zhu Xia to ask if he can go now. But suddenly, Qiao Yu lunges at Zhu Xia and lands a powerful blow on him, eliminating him and receiving 50 experience and 10 stat points. He also levels up and gets an additional 5 free stat points, and moreover, gets awarded with an S-rank item. This S-rank item is a one-time use item that can negate one fatal blow, seeing which Qiao Yu looks very much pleased. With Zhu Xia dead, the team now fears that if the tribe discovers his death, every member will come after them. Qiao Yu argues that they can avoid facing the tribespeople by exterminating the insects and suggests blowing up the greenstone well. So, deciding to act before Sun Dong realizes what's happened, they begin marching toward the well to finish things quickly. After a while, they reach the greenstone well and luckily notice no one's there. Walking nearer to the well, Fan Yuan sees Xiao Dong's parents have been killed as well. Qiao Yu says they should focus on destroying the well while they still can. Yang Xiangdi, Fan Yuan, and Long Chang begin channeling their spells and combine them over the well to deal maximum damage. Suddenly, a loud explosion erupts inside the well, shaking the whole forest. As the dust settles, a massive hole appears right where the well was before. Yang Xiangdi exclaims that the explosion was powerful and asks why the system hasn't notified them if all the insects have been killed. At that moment, Sun Dong arrives there laughing. She is accompanied by another warrior named Quang Mang, as she points out that since the five are here, Zhu Xia must have died. Qiao Yu asks Sun Dong what he should call her, the matriarch or Xiao Dong. Sun Dong grins and asks Qiao Yu if he doesn't like her current form and asks if she should turn back into Xiao Dong, the little girl. And then she really transforms into the little girl that she was when she first met the five. She then claims that she wanted to spare just Qiao Yu, but now that he's killed so many insects, she has to sacrifice him as well. Qiao Yu asks Sun Dong why she killed her own parents. Sun Dong says she doesn't care and that her parents were just two useless pieces of trash. Hearing Sun Dong speak of her parents like that, Qiao Yu's anger flares, and his eyes blaze.